The guys who chase her, lose her. The guys who ignore her, own her mind. And the worst part? She's not doing it on purpose. It's biology. The harder you chase, the faster she runs. And here's the part that blows most men's minds. She's not doing it on purpose. It's wired into her biology. Stick with me, because once you see why, you'll understand why women get hooked on men who act like they don't care. Think about it. Have you ever done everything right? You planned thoughtful dates, texted her good morning, bought her little gifts, and instead of getting closer, she started pulling away. Maybe she even ghosted. And you sat there thinking, what the hell did I do wrong? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Almost every man has been there. The crazy part is, the problem isn't that you weren't good enough. It's that you were too predictable, too safe. And in her mind, safe equals boring. That's why she loses interest in the guy who worships her and can't stop thinking about the one who barely gives her attention. But why? What makes her brain crave uncertainty over comfort? Here's the secret. Attraction doesn't live in security. It lives in the unknown. A woman's mind is designed to chase what feels just out of reach. That's why she checks her phone every 5 minutes for the guy who hasn't texted back, but rolls her eyes at the guy who replies instantly. If that sounds familiar, don't scroll, because the next 60 seconds will flip everything you thought about being the nice guy. And no, she's not being evil or manipulative. This is way deeper than that. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the exact psychology behind this, how her subconscious tests you without her even knowing it, and how you can flip the script so she's the one chasing you. But to understand it, we have to go all the way back to a survival instinct that's older than civilization itself. Be honest, has this ever happened to you? You did everything right. You showed her all your love, and she still pulled away. If that hit a nerve, tell me in the comments how it went down for you, because I guarantee you're not the only guy here who lived through that. Think about it. Have you ever done everything right? You planned thoughtful dates. To really understand why women lose interest when you're too nice, we have to rewind thousands of years. Back to a time when love and dating weren't about flowers, Netflix, or Instagram likes. They were about survival. And here's where most men miss the point. A woman's brain is still running on ancient survival software, even if today she's swiping on Bumble while sipping a latte. Picture this. Imagine a tribe of early humans. A woman has 2 choices. One man brings her flowers every day, sings songs for her, tells her how amazing she is. Sweet, right? But when winter comes, that guy has no food. When a rival tribe shows up, that guy can't fight. The other option? A man who doesn't say much, doesn't worship her every move, but can protect her, hunt, and command respect among other men. Which one do you think her brain chooses, even if her heart enjoys the attention of the first guy? That instinct is called hypergamy, a fancy word that means women are biologically wired to seek men with higher survival value than themselves, higher resources, higher strength, higher status. It's not something she consciously decides. She's not sitting there thinking, which guy will pass on the strongest genes? No, it's automatic. It's coded into her DNA after millions of years of evolution. Now, here's where it gets tricky for modern men. We live in a world with grocery stores, police, heating, Wi-Fi, things our ancestors couldn't even dream of. But her subconscious hasn't updated the software. Even in the safest city on Earth, her brain is still asking, can this man protect me? Can he provide? Can I look up to him? And when you act needy, desperate, or overly accommodating, her subconscious interprets it as weakness. Not because she hates kindness, but because deep down, weakness equals danger. Think about it like this. In the ancestral world, choosing the wrong man could literally get her killed. Pregnancy meant 9 months of vulnerability. Raising a child meant years of needing resources. If she picked a man who couldn't protect her, she and her offspring might not survive. That pressure shaped female psychology in a way that hasn't disappeared. Fast forward to today. When you text her every hour, cancel your plans to see her, or light up like a puppy every time she enters the room, you think you're showing love. But her subconscious hears, "This guy needs me more than I need him. He's not strong enough to stand on his own." And once her brain makes that calculation, attraction shuts down. You've probably seen this play out in real life. Ever notice how women can be with a man who doesn't shower her with constant affection, yet she clings to him like he's the prize? Meanwhile, the nice guy who does everything gets friend-zoned, ignored, or dumped. It's not fair, it's not logical, but it's biology. And here's the painful part most men don't want to hear. The guy who buys her roses, writes her long texts, and bends over backward is actually triggering her survival alarm bells. He feels too equal, too predictable, too safe. Her brain says, if he depends on me this much, how could he protect me when things get hard? And just like that, her attraction fades. Now don't get me wrong. I'm not saying women consciously think, "Oh, he can't fight off a bear, I don't like him." No, she doesn't know why she's losing interest. All she feels is that something is off. Her body stops wanting him. She becomes irritable, distant, less affectionate. And men misinterpret this as, she's being unfair, women are impossible, when in reality, her subconscious is just running the same ancient program it's always run. The truth is brutal, but also liberating. If you understand this ancient survival code, you can stop blaming yourself for being too nice or not enough. You'll realize it's not about money, muscles, or cars. It's about signaling strength, independence, and value in a way her subconscious can recognize. That's the foundation of attraction. And here's the kicker. When she feels that your value is lower than hers, her subconscious literally begins to reject you. It doesn't matter how much she liked you at first. That's why you see women lose interest in long-term relationships. They don't stop caring about their partner. They stop desiring him. Because biologically her brain is saying, don't reproduce with weakness. Harsh? Absolutely. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it explains why so many men who do everything right get left behind. But here's where most guys mess up. They think value means job title, salary, or the size of their biceps. They couldn't be more wrong. In fact, I'll show you a story of 2 men. One with money, status, and looks, the other with none of that. And yet, it was the broke one women obsessed over. Why? Because he understood one principle most men never learn. Now, let's talk about the thing that blindsides every guy, the tests. She cancels last minute. She mentions her ex. She goes cold out of nowhere. Most guys panic, but she's not doing it to hurt you. She's doing it to measure you. The moment you get needy, emotional, or chase, she logs you as low value. Here's how high-value men respond. She cancels? You say, cool, enjoy your night. She mentions another guy? You smirk. Good taste. She pulls back? You pull back harder. Every reaction trains her subconscious. Weakness kills desire. Strength keeps her obsessed. So here's where most men completely misread the game. They hear about this thing called value and instantly think it's about the size of their paycheck, the car they drive, or how tall they are. And yeah, those things might grab attention, but they don't hold attraction. Attraction isn't math, it's perception. And this is where the concept of sexual market value, or SMV, comes in. Think of dating like a giant marketplace. Every man and every woman walks in with a perceived value based on looks, confidence, personality, resources, and social status. But here's the trick. It's not about your actual value. It's about how she perceives your value compared to hers. If she feels you're on her level or below, her subconscious hits the brakes. If she feels you're just slightly above, she invests more. Let me break it down with two real guys I knew. First, a lawyer, 6-figure salary, polished look, always available, eager, over-investing. Women lost interest fast. Second, a broke bartender, no status, but confident, playful, never chased. Women chased him. Why? The lawyer had value but acted needy. The bartender seemed valuable because he acted like he didn't need her. It's not what you have, it's how you act when she pulls away. And when it comes to attraction, perceived value beats actual value every time. That's why women can reject millionaires while dating broke artists. It's not about numbers, it's about cues. Women are constantly scanning for signals. How do you handle rejection? Do you crumble when she cancels plans? Do you bend over backwards the second she shows coldness? Or do you stay calm, unbothered, in control of your frame? Those signals tell her more about your value than your income ever could. And here's where men sabotage themselves. They reveal neediness too quickly. They text constantly, shower her with praise, rearrange their life just to fit her in. What they don't realize is that every one of those behaviors screams, "You're my only shot. Please don't leave me," which is exactly what makes her leave. Women aren't attracted to desperation. They're attracted to choice. To a man who acts like he has options, even if he doesn't. Because when you behave like you're not desperate for her validation, her subconscious thinks, if other women want him, I should too. That's the essence of perceived SMV. And this is where the game flips. Most guys think the way to show value is to front-load it, to go all in with gifts, attention, and validation. But the men women chase, they don't spend their value all at once. They drip-feed it. They keep her guessing. Which brings us to one of the most powerful psychological triggers of all time: uncertainty. Because while value gets you noticed, uncertainty keeps you on her mind. Here's the next piece of the puzzle, and this one hurts the most for guys who pride themselves on being consistent. The truth is, predictability kills attraction. The moment she can map out exactly what you'll say, how you'll respond, when you'll text, and what date you'll plan, you become boring. And boring is the death of desire. Let's be real. Most relationships don't die because of cheating or fighting. They die because the man becomes predictable. Predictability doesn't feel safe. It feels solved. And solved equals forgotten. He calls at the same time every night. He plans the same dinner spots. He responds the same way no matter what she does. At first, she was excited, butterflies in her stomach. Months later, she's yawning while texting him back. Not because he did something wrong, but because she already solved the mystery. See, women don't consciously say, "I need drama, I need chaos," but their brains are wired to invest more energy in uncertainty than in certainty. This is why the bad boy stereotype is so powerful. It's not that women love being treated badly. It's that bad boys break the pattern. They don't play by the script. One moment they're sweet, the next they're unavailable. That unpredictability keeps her mind working overtime, trying to decode him. Imagine two guys texting. Guy number one sends, "Good morning, beautiful. Hope you have an amazing day," every single day. At first, she smiles. By day 10, it's background noise. Guy number two doesn't text in the morning. Some days, he doesn't text at all. Then, suddenly, he sends, "Coffee Tuesday, 7 p.m. Be there." Short, direct, unexpected. Which guy do you think she's replaying in her mind at night? This isn't about playing cruel games. It's about creating space for uncertainty to live. When she doesn't know what's coming next, her brain invests energy. Does he like me? Why didn't he reply yet? What's he doing right now? Those questions loop in her mind all day long, and the more she wonders, the more she feels. That loop is attraction. Meanwhile, the predictable guy thinks he's being romantic. He front-loads compliments, overshares his feelings, constantly reassures her. But what he doesn't realize is that he's destroying the very spark he's trying to protect. The moment she knows she has him 100%, she stops working for his attention. And the second she stops working, she stops wanting. Let me be crystal clear. Women don't fall in love with men. They fall in love with the way men make them feel about themselves. When she has to earn your affection, she feels alive, excited, challenged. When you hand it over for free, it loses all meaning. And that's why uncertainty is so addictive, because it makes every moment of validation 10 times more powerful. Every compliment means more because it wasn't guaranteed. Every text feels special because it wasn't expected. And this leads us straight into one of the most powerful psychological principles ever discovered. Something casinos use to keep people hooked. If you don't hold the frame, you lose the game. And something women's brains are wired to respond to in dating: intermittent reinforcement. Now we get to the secret sauce of why uncertainty is so powerful: intermittent reinforcement. If that phrase sounds complicated, don't worry. It's the same psychology casinos use to empty your wallet, and the same psychology that makes a woman's brain light up when she's not sure where she stands with you. Here's how it works. Humans don't get addicted to consistent rewards. We get addicted to unpredictable ones. Think about slot machines. If a machine gave you 10 every single time you pulled the lever, you'd get bored after 5 spins. But when the machine pays out randomly, sometimes nothing, sometimes a little, sometimes a jackpot, you can't stop. You keep pulling, because you never know when the next win is coming. That's intermittent reinforcement. Now apply that to your attention. If you text her good morning every single day, she adapts. She expects it. She doesn't value it. But if you sometimes text in the morning, sometimes at night, sometimes skip a day, and then send something short but impactful, suddenly her brain treats your attention like a slot machine payout. She never knows when it's coming, so she keeps checking, keeps hoping, keeps chasing. Neuroscience proves this. The brain releases more dopamine when rewards are unpredictable than when they're guaranteed. Your attention works the same way. Too much of it, too consistently, and her brain builds tolerance, just like a drug. But give it in bursts, unpredictably, and she becomes hooked. Let me paint you a picture. Guy A sends 10 heart emojis after every conversation. Guy B disappears for a day, then drops one playful line. Thinking about that sarcastic comment you made yesterday, still laughing. Which guy do you think she replays in her head? Which one makes her check her phone at 2 a.m.? The answer is obvious, because Guy B created a dopamine spike by breaking the pattern. And this is where most men completely drain their emotional bank account. They front-load all their validation. Compliments non-stop. Constant reassurance, showing her she's the most amazing woman on earth before she's even earned it. By week 1, he's already told her everything he feels. And guess what? His validation becomes worthless, like monopoly money. The smarter play is to treat validation like currency. Scarcity creates value. If she has to earn your approval, it means something. When every man is telling her she's beautiful, the man who only compliments her when she shows wit, effort, or intelligence stands out, because his words carry weight. I once knew a guy dating a model. Gorgeous. Every man on the planet was falling over themselves to praise her looks. He did the opposite. He rarely mentioned her beauty. Instead, he'd say, "That was actually a clever point," or "I like your humor. Most people don't make me laugh." And she lit up, because his validation wasn't automatic. She had to earn it. And when she earned it, it meant something. Here's the brutal irony. Women claim they want constant reassurance, and maybe consciously they do. But subconsciously they crave the opposite, because uncertainty keeps them invested. It's why the guy who's always available gets taken for granted, while the guy who's a little harder to reach gets chased. Now don't twist this. This isn't about ghosting her, ignoring her, or playing childish games. It's about living a life that naturally creates uncertainty. You're busy. You have a mission. You have friends, hobbies, priorities. She's part of your world, not the center of it. That natural scarcity makes your attention valuable. And this sets the stage for one of the most misunderstood parts of female psychology: the tests. Those little moments when she suddenly pulls back, mentions another guy, or cancels last minute. Most men panic. They think she's being cruel, disrespectful, or losing interest. But in reality, she's running a subconscious program designed to measure one thing: your value. And the way you respond to those tests determines whether her attraction skyrockets or dies on the spot. Now let's talk about something every man has experienced, but almost no man understands: the tests. Women don't sit down and plan these tests. They don't wake up thinking, "Today I'll mess with him just to see if he breaks." These are unconscious behaviors, wired into her psychology, designed to answer one question: is this man really high value, or is he just pretending? Here's how it looks in real life. She suddenly mentions another guy. Maybe it's an ex, maybe it's a celebrity, maybe it's just some random coworker. She's not trying to make you jealous on purpose. Her subconscious is watching. Does he get insecure? Does he try to compete? Or does he stay cool? The moment you get jealous or start overcompensating, she sees weakness. But if you shrug it off, or even agree, "Yeah, he's a good-looking dude," you pass the test. You show her you're not threatened. Then there's the availability test. She cancels last minute. Most guys panic. They scramble to reschedule. They sulk. They act disappointed. But the man who passes says, "No worries, I'll catch you another time," and actually goes and does something else. That simple response screams abundance. It says, "I have a life outside of you." And then comes the attitude test. She gets cold, gives short replies, maybe even acts a little disrespectful. Most men fold immediately. They chase, they beg, they ask, "What's wrong? Did I do something?" Wrong move. The correct response is to mirror her energy. If she's cold, you cool down too. Not with anger, but with composure. You don't reward bad behavior with more investment. You let her recalibrate. And when she does, her respect for you goes up. Here's the point most men miss. These tests aren't about her wanting to control you. They're about her wanting to trust you. Deep down, she wants to feel she chose a man who doesn't lose his center under pressure. Because if you can't stand firm against her moods, how can you stand firm against the world? And here's where it gets scary. If you fail enough of these tests, her subconscious flips a switch. Her body literally begins to reject you. She might still love you, care for you, even say she wants to be with you, but the attraction dies. Her touch feels forced, intimacy dries up, and she gets irritated by things that never used to bother her. Not because she's evil, but because her biology is telling her, this man can't protect me. This man isn't strong enough. Most guys respond to tests like boys. They get defensive, emotional, desperate. High-value men respond like rocks, calm, unmoved. They don't need to prove anything. And that unshakable frame is what keeps her chasing. But here's the twist. The tests never stop. Even when you're married, even after years together, they keep coming. Not because she wants to torture you, but because her subconscious always needs to verify your value. The moment you collapse, the moment you break frame, attraction starts to die, which leads us straight into one of the most powerful concepts in all of dating psychology: frame control. Because in every relationship, there's always one frame that dominates, the man's or the woman's, and whoever controls the frame controls the attraction. So let's break down one of the most important skills a man can ever learn: frame control. Your frame is basically the lens through which you see the world. It's your beliefs, your standards, your reality. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Every relationship has two frames competing. Either she's living in yours, or you're living in hers. And the man who loses his frame loses her attraction. Let me show you how this plays out. Imagine she says, "I don't feel like you love me enough." A man without frame panics. He scrambles to prove himself, to give more reassurance, more gifts, more time. But every attempt just reinforces the idea that he's bending his reality to hers. She says, "Jump." He says, "How high?" And each time, she respects him less. Now picture the man with frame. He doesn't argue. He doesn't beg. He listens. He acknowledges. But he holds his reality. Maybe he says, "I show love in the way I live my life and the way I lead. If that's not enough for you, then maybe I'm not your guy." That kind of grounded confidence shakes her to the core, because it signals strength. It signals certainty. And certainty in yourself is the ultimate aphrodisiac. Frame control isn't about being stubborn or controlling. It's not about ignoring her feelings. It's about knowing who you are, what you stand for, and refusing to abandon that just to please her. Because the moment you sell out your frame, she feels like she's stronger than you. And if she feels stronger than you, her biology tells her you can't lead, can't protect, can't be trusted. Now, leadership ties directly into this. Masculine leadership isn't about being a tyrant or barking orders. It's about being decisive, clear, directional. Women don't want to carry the burden of always making the call. They want to relax into your lead. That's why a man saying, "We're trying that new Italian place tonight, 7 p.m. But I'll pick you up," is infinitely more attractive than, "So, what do you want to do?" One makes her feel secure and excited. The other makes her feel like she has to drag you through the night. Leadership means you have a vision for your life, and you're inviting her to be part of it, not rearranging your entire life to orbit around her. Here's a quick reality check. In any relationship, the person who invests more emotional energy has less power. If you're the one constantly texting first, always making plans, always compromising, then you're giving up your frame. You're putting her in the driver's seat. And no matter how much she thinks she wants that power, the truth is, attraction dies when she has it. The man with strong frame doesn't need to raise his voice, doesn't need to argue, doesn't need to flex. His calm, steady belief in himself is enough. And that steadiness gives her something priceless. The ability to trust him, to feel like she can finally relax, because she's with a man who won't crumble under pressure. But here's the trap most men fall into. They think love alone is enough. They think being supportive, caring, and committed will keep attraction alive. But love and attraction play by different rules. Love is about comfort. Attraction is about challenge. And the man who confuses the two always ends up blindsided when the woman he loves stops desiring him. Which brings us to the final piece of this puzzle: why love without attraction means nothing, and how to make sure you keep both. Here's the truth: love and attraction aren't the same, and confusing them kills desire. Love is care, comfort, commitment. Attraction is tension, mystery, that upward pull. When you flood her with certainty, she feels safe and stops feeling drawn. That's when you hear, "I love him, but I'm not in love with him." Men who keep passion alive hold the paradox. They give love without neediness. They create comfort, yet keep a spark of challenge. They lead, never control. Steady, but just unpredictable enough that she stays engaged and proud of who she is around them. This isn't manipulation, it's alignment. Live with purpose, keep standards, let your attention be earned. She won't fall for you. She'll fall for how she feels beside you, respected, inspired, a little stretched. Your move: stop chasing validation. Build the life. Protect your frame. Offer affection because you choose to, not from fear. Be calm. Be clear. Speak less. Act more. Start now. One decisive step today. Upgrade your mission, your body, your craft. Set a boundary. Plan a great date instead of another paragraph. Lead with calm, quiet strength. When you do, love deepens, attraction returns, and staying becomes her choice. Thank you for watching. If this message hit you, don't just scroll away. Subscribe, dive deeper into our content, and start building the mindset that puts you back in control. Drop a comment below. What's the biggest struggle you want us to break down next? Let's build a brotherhood of men who rise above confusion and reclaim their power. See you in the next video.